Now, I said I would start YouTube, so here's me having a crack, and this is my full property portfolio breakdown as of August 2024. If you're new around here, my name is Harley. I'm 24 years old and I currently own 3 investment properties. I'm in the process of getting finance ready for number 4, but that's a story for another day. So to break down my property portfolio, let's go back to the beginning. So I purchased my first investment property as a 22-year-old in September 2022. At the time, I had around $100,000 saved. This money had come from working multiple jobs throughout my teenage years, as well as investing in index funds from the age of 16. Also, at this time, I was a uni student, even though I did drop out. That was a waste of time. As I had $100,000, I wasn't short of funds to be able to purchase an investment property on my own. But because I was a uni student at the time and I was only doing casual employment, I was worried I wouldn't be able to service a loan, so I went halves with my dad. We used a buyer's agent because at the time I lacked knowledge and confidence to be able to purchase on my own. The property we were offered was located in the southeast of Perth, and we got it for $450,000. For this property, we used around a 12% deposit, so that meant we were all in for just over $70,000 required for our deposit. As it was around $70,000 and I went halves, that meant that I was required to pay roughly $35,000. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath on around 600 square meters. The property actually has a really large rumpus room, so we would be able to convert this into a 5-bed, 2-bath if we wanted to. The rent on this property is currently $680 a week, which means that the yield is over 7.8%. Going off recent comparable sales, this property would be conservatively worth more than $700,000. There's properties similar to this one that are selling for $700,000 to $850,000 in this suburb. This means that the property has grown by over 55% in under 2 years, which works out to around 27.5% growth per year on this property. And as the property has really high cash flow, it's also positively geared, so that's an added bonus. The Perth market as a whole is still motoring along at 2% per month, so this has no signs of slowing down, especially with the stock on market still reducing. The second property in my portfolio, I purchased this one on my own as a 23-year-old back in August 2023. In the 10 to 11 months between these two purchases, I spent hundreds of hours educating myself, so reading books, listening to podcasts, and completing courses so that I was up to speed, I knew what I was looking for, and I had the confidence to be able to buy on my own. Now, the property I settled on was purchased for $422,000, about 15 kilometers north of the Perth CBD. To purchase this second property, I used another 10% deposit. So on this property, it worked out to around $70,000, and I used cash because I still had, out of that $100,000, I still had around $65,000 to $70,000 left over from the first one. The property is a 3-bed, 1-bath on 692 square meters, and it does have access and a powered workshop out the back. So this powered workshop, the zoning is right that I could convert this into a granny flat, or I could knock it down and put a unit at the back, again giving myself a cash flow play if I want it down the track. The property rents for $550 per week, so that works out to a roughly 6.8% yield, which means that this property is neutrally geared, so that means that the rent covers all the costs associated, but there's nothing left over. Going off recent comparable sales and a few appraisals that I have received, this property would be conservatively worth $650,000 plus. This means that this property has increased by around $228,000 in 12 months, which is a 54% gain. So it's safe to say I'm pretty happy with how this one's going, and I will be using equity from this property to purchase my 4th investment property. Property number 3 was purchased by myself again. This time I set up a company and trust structure to be able to purchase this property. If you want more information on this structure, comment below, but you can also Google corporate trustee and have a read yourself. I purchased this property for $390,000 in February of 2024. This was my 3rd property at 23 years old, which was a goal of mine. The property is a 3-bed, 1-bath on 840 square meters in regional WA, this time in Bunbury. As the property is on 840 square meters, the zoning's actually really good, and this property has 2 driveways, so it has perfect side access for me to be able to put on 1 or 2 properties out the back. Now, they're not going to be big properties, but I can definitely fit 2 units out the back, as the backyard's really well kept and clear. The property is currently rented for $490 per week, which works out to a 6.5% yield. Now, I did need to use a 3rd-tier lender to be able to purchase this property, so that meant that the rates are higher, but because I've had so much growth already, I can actually refinance that to a lower rate already. As I'm in the process now of refinancing, I just got a bank valuation for this property, and as you know, banks are pretty light on when it comes to valuations, but this one came in at $456,000. This works out to $66,000 worth of growth, or around 16.9% of growth in 6 months. For this third investment property, I actually used some of the equity from the first property. So as it had a lot of growth really quickly, I was able to pull out some equity and use this as a deposit for my third property. Now, if you add all these figures together, $250,000 worth of growth divided by 2 is $125,000 of growth for the first property. I've also got $228,000 of growth for the second property and $66,000 of growth for the third property. This works out to around $419,000 worth of equity growth in under 2 years. Not bad for a guy that's on $65,000 a year for his full-time job and currently still works at BP for his second job. Let me know in the comments if there's other topics that you want me to touch on. YouTube can be a great platform because I can actually dive in and spend some time going into details as opposed to TikTok and Instagram where I have to keep them short. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. God, I sound like an absolute toss saying that.